What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, we are talking spring squarebill fishing. I have some tips for you guys. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an advanced squarebill fisherman. Today's video got some tips and some tricks for you. Let's go. So surprise, I'm actually not on Clear Lake. Had to pull an audible. The family actually flew in and we are down in Arizona enjoying some warm, beautiful weather, catching some big smallmouth. So a little bit of an audible, a little bit of change of plans, but did get that one day out on Clear Lake. Wish I would have had more, but you know, family vacation, spring break, it's been awesome. So today's video, spring squarebills. Now I'm sitting out here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but just changing out hooks, changing out split rings on my squarebills. You know, it's kind of a zoo out on the water right now. It was windier earlier, so taking a little bit of a break and just prepping up my spring gear. So spring squarebill fishing, for those of you guys that don't know why, as these fish move up shallow for pre-spawn and spawn, now they are in the shallows. Now you can reach them with baits that only dive down 5, 6, 7 feet, and a squarebill is one of the best baits that you can possibly throw to get that reaction bite when those fish are up shallow. You know, it has that square bill, hence the name on it, so it deflects off of stuff very, very easily. It's very easy to fish through and around hard structure and even grass lines and that sort of stuff. But again, squarebills, one of my favorite ways to catch them this time of the year. You get to cover a lot of water, you get to fish very aggressive, you get to fish very quickly, and really cover a lot of water and find those aggressive feeding fish. So today's video got a handful of different little squarebills for you that I really like to throw, especially this time of the year. You know, fall you can change it up a little bit, but springtime, moving quickly, getting those pre-spawn, those females that are moving up, that are feeding heavily, you can catch the biggest bass of your life right now. You know, as we've followed through this transition in the videos, hopefully you guys have followed along, but those females, they're all bulged up with eggs. They weigh very, well, they weigh about as heavy as they're going to weigh all year, and now is the time to take advantage for them. So some tips. So let's talk squarebills real quick, kind of when, where, why type of thing, and then we'll get to tips like, I don't know, 3 or 4 tips for you that you guys are going to enjoy. So first off, we talked about why a squarebill. Cover a lot of water. The bluegill, those panfish are moving up shallow. You know, when you're burning this guy through those grass lines or off of that little tule edge, you know, it's just made to imitate a panfish or a bluegill or even a crawfish. So colors, keep it simple. Very, very simple. I just kind of talked about it a little bit without intending to. I will go with either a bluegill pattern, some kind of red or craw pattern, and some kind of shad pattern. That's it. You know, if the water's muddy, I might go with a chartreuse black back, something like that, a little more visible, but typically it's crawfish, bluegill, or shad. You know, keep it simple, especially if you're a beginner fisherman and you're just getting into squarebill fisherman or fishing or crankbait fishing. Keep the colors very, very simple. So that was we talked about when, kind of now. We talked about colors of baits. You know, as the water warms up, you can get more aggressive with your squarebills. If you guys have watched previous videos, you guys know that I typically like to throw squarebills that have no rattle in them or are silent. You know, like this biggie right here, this has a nice one knocker in it. And then you look at like this this Lucky Craft. Let me move that split ring. Almost silent. And I've found that if I can sneak up on these fish or surprise these fish, you get more of that reaction, and typically you can get those bigger fish. In my opinion, you get those bigger fish to react. But when you have a bait like this coming from a long ways away, they hear it coming, they're waiting for it. But again, you'll have lots of numbers on the biggie. That's one of our favorite squarebills. I think it might be Matt's favorite squarebill. But Depends on your fishery if you want a knocker or a silent bait. But colors, like I said, keep it simple. Go silent if you can. If you need a knocker, or say your water is kind of stained or dingy, go with a one knocker or something with some sound in it. But if not, go with the silent bait. Let's talk about hooks, because hooks are very, very important on all baits, like we've talked about in past. That is when it comes down to you're making the cast, you're throwing the right bait, and that fish eats. If you have dole hooks or cruddy hooks, you might lose that fish. So you have everything lined up in your favor. You don't want the hook to be the reason that you dump that fish. So I actually, as you can see, like I said, changing out all sorts of hooks on these baits. And again, I got multiple Squarebills. I'll link some of my favorites down below in the video description. But hooks, I like to run 3 different styles of hooks on my Squarebills. And to keep it simple, let's talk about my basic setup. My basic setup is going to be something like this. This is the Spro Little John. Now this is these guys right here. This is the owner Stinger Treble. Now what you can see on this bait, or on this hook right here, is that back gap between those back 2 points is almost flat. So it sits really well flush against the belly, and that allows 2 things. One, you have a wider hook gap, so you have more chance or opportunity to get a second hook in that fish when it eats the bait. And 2, this is that little BX Brat, that Rapala. 2, when you're running this bait around grass, see how that's flat on bottom? This is going to be sticking down just like that. Hopefully you guys can see that. So you only have one hook point down, and here you have no hook points down. It allows you to run around vegetation without getting hung up in the grass and such. I apologize, guys. Like I said, out here at Havasu, you might be hearing the guys play tennis in the background, or the boats running by, or the trailers parking. But again, it's a vacation, so we're enjoying our time. But you might even see the kids ride by on their scooters. But anyways, getting back to hooks. So again, that's that special cranking hook that I really like. Again, it really sits flush against the belly, and when a fish comes up and eats this from behind, you actually have one hook point sticking straight up, so you get that nice single hook point in the roof of the mouth, and you don't lose as many fish. Now, with that said, some baits have a different, see this right here, the hook hanger off the back? This is vertical, that's horizontal. You cannot run this style of hook on that type of hook hanger on the back unless you run double split rings, which I don't really do. You could, I guess. So in that case, I will go with a traditional, or our favorite ST36. That's just ST36 treble hook, very sharp. It's another owner product. You can go with any of your favorite short shanks, wide gap hooks if you want, Mustad or VMC or Gamakatsu. But again, so I'll run that 2 different hook combo on that guy because it has that different hook hanger. And then, well, here's a good one. Here's a Lucky Craft. You can see a little bigger presentation so you guys can see that. But see how those back hooks run almost flat with the belly of the bait, and then you see how it tucks in real nice against the belly. Now again, there is a right and a way to put on treble hooks. You can absolutely put this hook on backwards, not backwards, but turned one way, the wrong way, and it's going to have this hook trying to rub against the belly and the 2 flat down. So make sure you put them on correctly. You want it running right against the belly just like that, and you want the rear hook vertical, just with a single point up. And then last but not least, if you guys haven't tried these already, that's this guy right here. It's actually a hook by VMC, and you can see it's got a built-in swivel and blade. to add a little more flash to your baits. Now, I typically do this with my shad colored baits. Things that I want to have flash, like I said, shad, baitfish colors. That's when I'm going to add that single hook with the flash to it. Again, it just adds a little more flash, and schools of baitfish, have lots of flickering, lots of flash around. It adds a little bit of vibration, and it's just a little bit different. Now, I will not do that on my craw baits. One other tip for you. I actually, along the same lines as the flash with the baitfish baits, on my craw baits, I will actually, now I change out all terminal tackle. I change out split rings, and I change out hooks. But on my craw pattern baits, I will actually go with a black chrome or a black split ring. I'll change the front one, I'll change the other two, just because I don't want a lot of flash. You look at a crawdad in the water, there's no flash to it. So again, you want these fish to react and eat these baits. You want them to look as natural as possible. So when I'm burning a matte red or some kind of matte craw pattern through that fish's face, I don't want there to be a bunch of chrome or a bunch of silver nickel flash that doesn't really look like a crawdad. So I'll actually switch out all my stuff to be less flashy on my dark crawfish pattern stuff. You can take a black Sharpie, you can color that stuff in, and again, make that thing as dull as possible. You can even add a little bit of detail on the bill to make that thing look as realistic as possible. But if I'm throwing some kind of bait fish pattern, then I don't necessarily worry about it. But you can see I changed out these ones just because that's what I had. But if you're throwing some kind of dull bait or some kind of craw pattern, take a Sharpie, black Sharpie. If you don't have the black split rings, and color that stuff in, just take away some of that flash. Now, one other tip for you guys, kind of wrap it up here. Today, there's a lot of Squarebills on the market, and they have different patterns, different depths, different wobbles, tight wobbles, wide wobbles, all that sort of stuff. But one thing that most companies are starting to do is they're actually starting to put the depth of the Squarebill on the bait itself. So I've been doing this for many, many years. Those of you guys that have been following along for a long time know that I do this. When you have 8, 10, 12 different types of Squarebills, they all run different depths. Take a Sharpie and write the depth on your bait. That way, when you pick up this biggie right here, you know that it maxes out at 5 feet. Ooh, those hooks are sharp. At 5 feet. Now, where can you apply this? Now, if you're fishing a break or a point that comes out and you max out at 3 feet and then it breaks, might be a little too shallow. You might want to go something with a 2 to 3 foot depth bill on it. But it just lets you effectively fish the areas that you're fishing the best that you can with the best baits. So if you don't know, like I said, a lot of these baits actually will put, this little guy right here, the BX Brat, that's a 6-footer. So you know that guy runs 6 feet. You know that this guy runs 5 feet. So it's just a tip that go through as you're unpackaging your baits or you're organizing your stuff. You need to look it up on Tackle Warehouse, look it up wherever, find the depth, write it down on your bait. That way you don't have to remember when it comes crunch time to you picking the correct Squarebill. Last tip for you, as far as retrieves, don't just throw it out there and just grind it back to the boat. Just like we've taught you in other cranking videos, change up your cadence. Fire it out there, pause. Burn, 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 pause. Burn, 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 hit the rock, pause. Give it some slack. Make that bait, you want that bait flying through and pausing and stopping, changing directions, all that sort of stuff to really trigger those fish. So again, colors, keep it simple. Change up your speed, change your split rings, change your hooks, write your depths on your baits, and you guys will have more success as a Squarebill fisherman. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to our channel. We do 3 videos a week for you. As always, guys, we appreciate you. Have a good one.